Hey, Commissioner Stoudemire, we're on our way to launching. We're just waiting a second.
I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Good afternoon. The December 16, 2025 Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now convened. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Alvarez? Commissioner, you're muted if you can hear me. He appears to be there, but we'll wait for an answer. I'll go on to Commissioner Stoudemire.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Higgins? Chair Cruz?
Here.
Try one more time. Commissioner Alvarez?
Here.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everybody. As required by state law, Prosper Portland invites the public to access and attend this meeting in person. There's also a YouTube live stream video of the meeting, and the public has had the opportunity to arrange in advance to provide virtual testimony. The public may provide written testimony to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Again, prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. All right, we'll start with commissioner reports. Commissioner Alvarez or Commissioner Stoudemire Wesley, do either of you have any report to provide this month?
Just attended the Portland Chambers event, and it went well. And I think we attended another event, but I can't think of the name. So several this month.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Alvarez, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Also attended a couple events with Prosper as well, and it was great to get out into the community and see the activities that are happening.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. Okay, we'll just go straight to the Executive Director report. Executive Director Wesley.
Well, good evening, everyone. We have some pretty robust Executive Director reports. So I'll jump right into it. So it has been a busy month as I continue to meet with and engage stakeholders and partners. I had the opportunity to speak at the Central East Side Annual District Celebration, the Oregon Business Plan Summit, the NAACP Fireside Chat event, the East Portland CLC December event, and the Oregon Smart Growth Annual Meeting, in addition to an array of other events I've attended on behalf of the agency. As I mentioned, on Monday, December 8th, I attended the Oregon Business Plan Leadership Summit. That was an impressive event, and it was great to hear the governor speak on the importance of economic development. In addition, I had the opportunity to join Mayor Wilson and present in an afternoon breakout session. There was great engagement during our Q&A session, and I appreciate the mayor's commitment to a strong economic development focus in 2026. We have a lot ahead of us, and the support and partnership of Mayor Wilson and the City Council will be absolutely essential. Along with several Prosper and PHB colleagues, I participated in the East Portland TIF kickoff with Rose High School. The new East Portland Community Leadership Committees joined members of the Exploration Steering Committee and 3 working groups and the broader public for a shared orientation. Participants discussed the community engagement and exploration work completed to date and then shared individual experiences, perspectives, and priorities for each of their TIF districts. These early convenings are intended to further relationship building, shared learnings, and coordination across the 3 East Portland districts. A second joint meeting will take place on Thursday, January the 8th, and will focus on an overview of TIF as a funding tool, lessons learned from past TIF districts, and a deeper look at emerging district-specific plans. Now, beginning in late January, the 3 district-specific CLCs will shift into monthly action plan meetings. All meetings are open to the public, and community members are encouraged to participate as this work moves forward. My appreciation to everyone involved in this critical work, including Lisa Alboaf, Brian Moore, Catherine Hardinger, Roger Gonzalez, and Angela Wynn. Also last week, the executive team and board gathered for our annual retreat. I want to thank everyone for participating. I know that schedules are extremely busy this time of year, but having the opportunity to connect and discuss a whole array of topics was extremely important. Plus, since this was my first retreat with the exec team and board members, it was great to connect and engage with everyone. And I want you to know that I valued that time together. Looking ahead, I'm excited to invite everyone to join us on New Year's Eve for the 2nd annual New Year's Eve drone show and dance party at Pioneer Courthouse Square. This family-friendly way to ring in the new year includes great food and drink, a lively dance party, and 2 amazing drone shows featuring hundreds of drones lighting up the night sky above the square. The first show is at 9 p.m., and the second is, of course, at midnight. This was the 2nd year the city has sponsored this wonderful event, which is becoming a new holiday tradition. The event was made possible by the City of Portland, Prosper Portland, the Office of Events and Film, the Square, and True West Presents, with additional support from PBOT, TriMet, Smart Park, and KGW. I want to recognize at this time our own Amanda Park for all of her outstanding work to make this event a reality. I'm also pleased to announce that through support from Prosper Portland, Travel Oregon, the Portland Metro Chamber, and an array of city bureaus, Portland Staycation is partnering with the Portland Winter Light Festival. This beloved event transforms the first 2 weekends in February, Friday, February the 6th through Sunday, February the 8th, and Friday, February the 13th, 15th, into a radiant celebration of art, light, food, and discovery. Now we are encouraging Central City businesses, events, and attractions to join this campaign. The deadline to sign up is Thursday, January the 15th. To learn more and get involved, go to portlandstaycation.com. And I want to encourage everyone to please mark your calendars for the February Winter Light Festival. It will be here before we know it. You can also go to pdxwlf.com for all the details. I also want to recognize a bit of neighborhood news with the recent opening of the Paris Theater right here in Old Town. The reopening follows an extensive multi-year restoration. Can Productions has reimagined this story building as a can and cabaret venue with all ages, matinee shows, and evening performances for the 21-plus audiences. Prosper Portland supported the renovation of this Portland landmark through the Prosperity Investment Program. And so I want to thank Sarah King for all her work to support and guide this project. So congratulations, Sarah. This is great news for Old Town. Finally, I have some staffing news I'm excited to pass along. Eric Knoll has joined Prosper Portland as the agency's new policy manager in the Equity Policy and Communications Department. Eric is a policy and government relations leader with over a decade of experience shaping state and local policy, securing strategic investments, and managing cross-departmental initiatives. He previously served as Director of Regional Government Relations and Policy for Portland State University and the State Government Relations Manager at the City of Portland. Secondly, Hannah Stutter is the agency's new Senior Executive Assistant and will work directly with me. Hannah brings more than 7 years of experience in administrative support and executive assistance, including managing boards and fostering excellent communication with external partners. Hannah will be taking over for our very own Pam Feigenbutz, who is retiring after many years of dedicated service. Everyone give Pam some hand. Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, Ariel Broyles has joined Prosper Portland as an intern in the development and investment team. Ariel is currently a student in Portland State University's Master's in Real Estate program. Ariel, will you please raise your hand so you can be acknowledged? Thank you. And finally, Brad Reynolds has moved into a role as accounting and finance supervisor on the finance team. Brad joined Prosper Portland in 2023 as principal accountant and was promoted to lead accountant in 2024. Brad, if you're here, can you raise your hand? Let's congratulate Brad. Okay, Board Chair, that concludes the Executive Director's report, and I kick it back to you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you for the great report, and congratulations and welcome to everybody. So fantastic to have you. Okay, next up, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 8, 2025?
Make a motion to approve the October 8th, 2025 minutes.
Great, thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay, you're approved. All right, next up, we have public comments for items not on the agenda. And I see that we have one person. In addition to the one, are there any others that you're aware? Okay, great. All right then, we have Bird. Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
You will definitely be missed. On June 18th, this body voted, adopted, and approved a restitution settlement agreement for EDPA 2 and 26 plaintiffs. At its core, restitution is about making things better. No one is disillusioned in thinking that we will be adequately compensated or wholly compensated for the loss our families endured when our homes and businesses were demolished for an expansion that didn't happen. Restitution should make things better, but they're not. When it comes to the property that you all are offering us as restitution, it's making things worse, and it's actually continuing the harm that was started in 1960, or even before that. There are a lot of issues with this property, but I'm only going to highlight 3 right now. Number 1, on June 18th, you all told a voting, tax-paying public that these properties were worth $2,299,180. Those properties are not worth that amount of money. I have asked for documents to establish that valuation, and I have not received a satisfactory answer. I have 2 appraisals, one completed in October 2025, the other one completed in November 2025. Those properties come in at $1.2 million. That's the value of both of those properties combined, which leaves a delta that needs to be paid to EDPA 2. You told the public those properties were worth $2,299,180, but you have not shown any documentation for how you came up with those numbers. Number 2, I have already spent roughly $100,000 of my settlement towards what traditionally are known as soft costs, pre-development costs, and those costs typically are reimbursable. Number 3, there's an encroachment on one of the properties. That encroachment is 4 feet by 65 feet. That encroachment needs to be taken care of. And you can argue that, well, the settlement agreement isn't held legally liable for what I discover, but it does hold you legally liable for what you disclose. You all did not disclose that encroachment. Who's paid taxes on that encroachment? Because you all have known about it since 2017. Who has paid taxes on that? If we were to accept that property, it's a clouded title. What can we do with the clouded title? I have already taken my settlement money and I reinvested right back into the city of Portland. I purchased a historic home, and when it's finished being renovated, it's going to house people who need it. I would love to continue to do that with these properties on MLK. But how can I make those properties liquid when they're encumbered? These three things need to be addressed. Director Wesley, I would encourage you to look at Resolution 7613 and truly understand the authority you have under those recitals. Otherwise, we're going to end up in mediation. If that doesn't go right, we're going to end up back in court. And then we're going to have to explain to a viewing public why this 60-year battle continues when everybody in this room is qualified to satisfy this once and for all, and we all can walk away smiling. Do you guys want to keep this battle going? Or do you want to end this in a way that's beneficial for everybody? Chiefly the city of Portland.
Okay, thank you for your perspective. That's your 3 minutes. I think staff has taken notes on your comments, and I'm sure they'll be back to you or your counsel.
Well,
So thank you.
I really hope someone gets back to me with how you all came up with that valuation and how we are going to deal with the delta.
Thanks for your comments.
EDPA 2 deserves that delta. It's been 60 years.
Okay, next item. We have the consent agenda, number 6. This is an action item adopting a minor amendment to the East 205 Urban Renewal Plan. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7629 on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Do we have a second? Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, passes unanimously, thank you. Okay, next we have a regular agenda item. This is an action item accepting and approving the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2024-25, accepting the communication of those charged with governance and adopting a corrective plan of action. And we have several speakers today. Simone Reddy, the city auditor, Keith Simovic from Baker Tilly, and Tony Barnes, Chief Financial Officer. Welcome to all of you.
Good afternoon, Chair Cruz and Commissioners. I'm City Auditor Simone Reddy. I use she, her pronouns, and you may refer to me as Madam Auditor or Auditor Reddy. Joining me from our outside financial audit firm, Baker Tilly, is Principal Keith Simovic. Keith and his team have been carrying out Prosper Portland and city financial audits on my office's behalf for many years under the firm name Moss Adams. But earlier this year, Moss Adams merged with another firm and took on the firm name of Baker Tilly. Also joining us is Prosper Portland's Chief Financial Officer, Tony Barnes. Next slide, please. I'm pleased to join you today to present the results of the annual financial audit and to answer questions that you might have. Presenting these results publicly allows the community to engage with us about the results and also for our agencies to be accountable to them. Next slide. So the mission of the Auditor's Office is to ensure an open and accountable government. City Charter makes my office responsible for auditing the performance of our city government, including Prosper Portland. And my office also oversees the financial audit of Prosper. And today we're going to be looking back at the period that ended last fiscal year, which was on June 30th, 2025. As a refresher for you and for anyone who is watching, I want to highlight the difference between performance audits and financial audits. Performance audits review the efficiency, effectiveness, and equity of a program or service, and the topic and methods vary based on my discretion. For example, we audited Prosper Portland's Small Business Relief Fund in 2021, and that audit was looking at emergency grant funds that were awarded during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it made recommendations for strengthening the program for the next time that disaster strikes. As noted in my office's audit schedule for this fiscal year, we're going to be beginning a new performance audit of Prosper Portland's grants management. And within the next month, you and the Prosper staff should be receiving a job start letter from me about that. We selected that topic because high-profile grant programs have been moved to or assigned to Prosper Portland in recent years. And my office has also received some hotline complaints and ombudsman tips about the grants management at Prosper. So we aim to complete a performance audit of Prosper every 3 years, and that's according to an MOU that we have between our two entities. By contrast, a financial audit is a review of the financial statements, and it follows state law and accounting standards. The objective of this financial audit was to obtain reasonable assurance about whether Prosper's financial statements as a whole were free from material misstatement or whether they were significantly off. Next slide. I also want to highlight the different roles of management and the auditor's office in this process. Prosper Management, under the direction of Executive Director Cornell Wesley and CFO Tony Barnes, prepare the financial statements and are also responsible for putting financial controls in place. Like I said, by city charter, the auditor has authority to oversee the annual audit of financial statements. And we clarified these roles and relationships in April 2024 through a memorandum of understanding between the auditor's office and Prosper Portland. As a result, my office continues to oversee the financial audit of Prosper Portland as part of the citywide contract that we have with the audit firm. The structure that is outlined on this slide provides additional separation between the outside auditors and management, and that enhances independence and increases trust in the results. Prosper's participation in the citywide contract allows us to leverage economies of scale during the procurement of financial audit services, and our oversight of the contract also ensures coordination between Prosper Portland, the audit of Prosper's financial statements, as well as the city's, and the federally required single audit of Prosper's reporting or rather spending of federal grant money. That is reported in combination with the city. Now for the results. As the audit report shows, Prosper received a clean opinion on the financial statements, and that means the outside audit firm concluded that those statements are a fair and accurate reflection of Prosper's finances. The financial statements and audit are an important resource for decision makers, such as community members, taxpayers, investors who buy the city's and Prosper Portland's debt, and of course you, the Board of Commissioners. Interested parties can use these results to see what financial shape the Prosper is in. The outside auditors also issued a letter to you describing how the audit went. It also includes issues that are required to report by audit standards. And this year, our outside auditors found a deficiency in Prosper Portland's internal control. And Keith is going to describe what that means in more detail during this presentation. I appreciate Prosper Portland's executive leadership and financial staff for facilitating a smooth audit and for answering requests from the outside auditors during this process. And I also want to thank Baker Tilly's team for their continued excellence and professionalism in conducting the audit on my office's behalf. Last slide, please. I have our contact information up here if you want to be in touch with us. Mindan Vong, who is the contract manager for our annual financial audit from my audit services division, is here to help answer questions. And he can also set up a meeting with you after today's presentation. Anyone who is watching can access the auditor's office on the first floor of City Hall, online at portland.gov/auditor, or by calling us at 503-823-4078. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Keith, after which we can hear any public testimony and answer your questions. And Tony Barnes also has some closing remarks. So thank you for hearing from me today.
Perfect. Thank you, Auditor Reddy. Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, fellow commissioners. Very excited to be here to present the audit results for the June 30th, 2025 fiscal year end. I know we have a brief slideshow presentation. If we can pull that up here, and we'll go through the results of the audit, what you'll see in the different audit reports that we deliver as part of this process. We'll go through what each one of those means and how do we get to the point where we can issue those audit reports. Then we'll go through what is in that communication to those charged with governance, that separate letter that we issue as part of every audit that we do that's intended to give you more information on top of just, did you get a clean opinion or not? But it tells you, how did the audit go? Did you run into issues along the way? Were there audit adjustments? Or do you have any recommendations? Those types of things. So we'll go through those as well. And I'll pause if there's any questions from the commission as well. Go ahead and advance the slide, probably a couple slides. One more. There we go. Perfect. So this is a summary of the different audit deliverables that we provide as part of this process. When you hire an independent CPA firm to come in and do a financial statement audit, there's really 3 different audit reports that get that we have to complete and that get attached to the city's, or excuse me, Prosper Portland's annual comprehensive financial report, or what's known as the ACFR. The one that you're probably most familiar with, first and foremost, is going to be the audit report over the fairness and accuracy of the financial statements. As you heard previously, we are giving a clean audit opinion on the financial statement audit report. We get to the point where we can issue that audit opinion through an evaluation of internal controls, as well as where we spend the bulk of our time is all of the detailed testing, kind of looking at that substantive evidence underlying the information that's been captured in the financial records by Prosper Portland and its finance team, and ultimately accumulated and reflected in the ACFR report, right? So we want to make sure there's underlying evidence, whether that's invoices, contracts, agreements, payments, whatever it is, but that substantive evidence to support that the information that's reflected in that ACFR is recorded at the right amount, in the right period, recorded in the right account, and it aligns with the governmental accounting standards rules that Prosper Portland has to follow as well. We also have to do a technical review of the ACFR document itself. That document and the financial statements, because of the governmental accounting standards that you have to follow, have to be in a very specific format and presentation and have to include certain disclosures that are required by those accounting standards as well. So we have to do that technical review to make sure that all those items are included. And then we're aware that the Prosper Portland finance team submits their ACFR report each and every year to the Government Finance Officers Association, or the GFOA, for the Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting. And so there's some additional items there that we have to review as well to make sure that Prosper Portland can continue to receive that award year in and year out. And I'm sure Tony can attest to how many years that Prosper Portland has received that now. We also issue an audit report over compliance with certain Oregon municipal standards. So the state of Oregon wants to make sure that any independent auditor doing a financial statement audit of a Oregon municipal corporation also looks at compliance with certain state statutes. So the areas that they want us to look at, where we spend the bulk of our time, is going to be compliance with Oregon local budget law, public procurement standards, where Prosper Portland is parking its funds and what depositories are those approved by state treasury, what types of investments that Prosper Portland gets into, if any. Those are the types of things that we need to look at each and every year and do some testing of that to support our ultimate audit report, where we say, do we note any instances of noncompliance? We did not have any instances of noncompliance in the current year in that Oregon minimum standards report you'll see attached to the ACFR as well. Then finally, we issue a report in line with government auditing standards. This is a report that if we note any instances of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting, we have to note those within this audit report that gets attached to the ACFR. We did have one item, as you heard from Auditor Reddy previously, that we did have one finding that was identified as a material weakness in internal controls related to the recording of the pollution remediation liability, and we'll discuss that here in one of the following slides. Go ahead and advance the slide. Within our communication to those charged with governance, this slide kind of gives you a bullet point list of the different paragraphs, or at least the key items in different paragraphs that you'll see within that letter. Again, this is a letter that's separate from your ACFR report, but is addressed to the Board of Commissioners and intended to give you more information on the audit process. You'll see a section in there where we talk about the plan, scope, and timing, and I can say this audit was completed in accordance with that initial plan, scope, and timing that we set out, and is very similar to the timing from previous years. You'll see a section on whether we had any audit adjustments. We did have one audit adjustment, again, over the pollution remediation liability. We'll discuss that in more detail here in a minute as well. That is related to the material weakness that I mentioned. There's a section in there where we're required to let the governing body, so the Board of Commissioners, know if the Prosper Portland management went out and did any kind of opinion shopping, where they're reaching out to another accounting firm to get a second opinion on any topics. We're not aware of that happening in the current year. We did not have any disagreements with management. We do have good discussions with the finance team throughout the year when there's new accounting standards or new types of transactions that come up. So we have some good discussion that goes on, but at the end of the audit process, we did not have any outstanding disagreements with management. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit. This goes back to scope limitations. So if there were any limitations put on the scope of procedures that we're wanting to perform to conduct the audit in line with our professional standards and government auditing standards, one we would probably be letting you know way earlier in this process, and it could inhibit our ability to issue a clean audit opinion. So I can say we were able to receive all the documentation that we requested. We got answers to all the questions that we asked, and we felt everyone was very available during this process and able to kind of help get it to this point. So there weren't any limitations put on the scope of the procedures we performed. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide for the audit observations and recommendations. So if you read through the letter to those charged with governance, the material weakness, as I mentioned, is related to recording for the pollution remediation liability. So as we started the audit process, there's documentation we get each and every year that the Prosper Portland team updates in terms of those different types of pollution remediation activities and future liabilities related to those, and having to kind of update those each and every year as activities occur, or as circumstances change, or as inflation impacts the projected costs that will be incurred in future years to do pollution remediation activities. Our team obtained that initial workbook with that calculation, and what was identified was a error in the calculation of that liability initially that resulted in an audit adjustment to increase the liability by $32.4 million. As well as the related pollution remediation expense. That is reflected in the ACFR in front of you today. And when you look at the ending balance as of today compared to a year ago, I think Tony mentioned earlier, it was about $2.7 million difference, which is kind of what we would expect based on normal inflation and not a lot of changes to those activities and what's happened over the course of the past year. So that has been corrected, but because of the dollar amount that we're talking about, we have to call that out as a material weakness in internal controls. And so we're recommending additional procedures and internal controls, processes of checks and balances, and coordination between different teams between finance and the real estate side to really kind of work together collaboratively on that calculation each and every year to ensure that there is a good review that's done there and everyone's kind of aligned on in terms of what that liability ends up being before the audit starts in this process. Any questions in terms of that item? I know I went through a lot there. Okay, go ahead and move to the next slide. Outside of that, just want to say thank you to everyone that played a part in this process. There's a lot of folks. Yes, finance does the heavy lifting, but we're talking to individuals throughout the organization. Internal controls impact all different departments, and so there's a lot of documentation that we have to ask for, a lot of interviews that we have to conduct, and really appreciate everyone's help in getting to this point in a timely manner. And seeing it through to the end where we can present the results to the Board of Commissioners in the timeframe that we had laid out initially. And thank you again to Auditor Reddy and the Auditor's Office as well for their management of the audit contract. Go ahead and advance the slide. This is just a quick snapshot of our team, just to show you that it's not just me, it's not just the folks that you see on here as well. We have other staff and seniors that were involved, but this is kind of the core management group. So in addition to myself, last year I think at the presentation was David Levitsky as our audit manager, and then Amanda Moore served as our concurring reviewer, what's kind of known as our QC review role as well. All right, I think that concludes our audit presentation for this year. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your good work. Appreciate that.
Right. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley. I'm Tony Barnes, CFO, and thank you, Auditor Reddy and Keith, for being here again today for presenting the results of our financial audit for fiscal year 24-25. Commissioners, before you today is the resolution accepting the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 24-25, as well as adopting the corrective action plan for the finding identified by Baker Tilly. The annual comprehensive financial report is included as Exhibit A to the resolution, has been prepared in accordance with Government Accounting Standards Board's requirements. I'm happy to note that we received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting again for last year's report from the Government Finance Officers Association. I think that's year 37. And we've just submitted the attached report again to GFOA just this last week. The report provides specific financial statements for all of Prosper's individual funds, as well as government-wide financial statements and notes to the financial statements. The management discussion and analysis section at the beginning of the report provides overall changes, discussion and changes in that position, as well as trends with major funds. The financial statements were finalized in October following completion of the audit and review by Baker Tilly, and includes the pollution liability adjustments that staff requested to be made to correct that initial error related to the finding. Exhibit C includes the formal plan of action being requested for approval that will be submitted to the Oregon Secretary of State following submittal of the ACFR. The plan of action includes several items to address the finding and improve pollution liability estimates, the overall estimate process overall. And those items include additional details and instructions and a checklist to support the technical part of preparing those estimates, establishing a regular process and schedule to bring in external review of the process, and final documentation for the estimate and year-end estimate to be signed off by Prosper CFO before entry is made at year-end. And with that, I'd like to provide my appreciation and thanks to Minh Dan Vong and the City Auditor's Office for managing the annual audit engagement, and Keith Simovic and David Levitsky and the entire Baker Tilly team we worked with from June through October, again, to complete this audit. Finally, major thanks and appreciations to our finance and accounting team, Brad Reynolds, Gina Bixby, Keith Padilla, Kale Sechao, Courtney Cohn, Chance Lee, Trevor A. Brandon, as well as support from HR and IT and procurement teams for their participation in the financial audit, the annual IT audit, and that includes Terry Rosales, Dante Posadas, Caleb Comas, and Paula Edwards, and Carrie Seamers. So thank you very much, team, for all your support and help through the process.
Great, thank you very much. That was a great presentation, and once again, really, on behalf of the board, really appreciate the whole team's effort and great results again in this audit. Would anybody on the board, any other board members like to make a comment at this point? Nope, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Stoudemire Wesley. I'd just like, for those people listening or watching who wonder about what does a material weakness mean, I'd like to just add a couple of editorial comments. One is that there was no out-of-pocket issue with this problem. It was an estimated liability, which of course is material to us and material to the city in terms of looking at future potential liabilities, but it is an estimate. The actual results could be less or more. And corrective action has been adopted. So I don't want anybody who's kind of uninformed in these matters to be overly terrified or concerned that there's some type of very large out-of-pocket adjustment here, and there really wasn't. Overall, it sounds like the audit was excellent as usual, and I would note the award that staff continues to receive every year. Hopefully we'll get it again this year, and that just shows the outstanding work that you all do. So anyway, just want to elaborate there a little bit. Okay, so would somebody, with all that in mind, would somebody like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7630, accepting and approve the annual report?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Motion to second.
Excellent. Thank you. All those in favor then?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thanks again. Really appreciate all the great work. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have an action item number 8. This is adopting budget amendment number 1 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026, and making appropriations. And Tony Barnes, again, will present along with Courtney Cohn. So thank you again.
Good afternoon again, Chair Cruz and Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley. Tony Barnes, Chief Financial Officer, and I'm joined today by Courtney Cohn, our Principal Budget Analyst, who'll be supporting us through the discussion of the first major budget revision for this fiscal year. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Courtney to kick it off.
Great. Hi, everyone. Courtney Cohn. I'm the principal, as Tony said, Principal Budget Analyst at Prosper Portland. Next slide, please. Just a reminder about why we do budget revisions. It's required by law that any changes to the budget that result in an increase in expenditure appropriations by fund be approved by the governing body, the board. Prosper Portland's appropriation categories are administration, economic development, infrastructure, housing, and property redevelopment. And each of those appropriation categories includes many projects and programs. Next slide, please. Yes, yeah.
Good.
Great, thank you. So some overarching themes of this first budget revision. So we are recognizing the audited ending fund balances and into our, updating our beginning fund balances and appropriating those increases to our various categories, and that includes the housing set-aside, funding, action plan commitments, and other items that we'll go into in further detail. We're also closing out and transferring final program income resources in terminating districts to new districts to consolidate ongoing spending commitments. We're doing necessary technical adjustments and transfers of prior year savings to support ongoing work in newer TIF districts. And we're transferring prior year savings to support one-time operational needs. Next slide, please. Okay, and this slide provides a high-level schedule of the budget monitoring process for the current fiscal year, as well as the budget development process for next year. So as a reminder, we adopted our current year budget in June. In November, we updated our TIF projections that we received from Multnomah County. We're continuing to coordinate with Multnomah County on updating those TIF projections. And right now we're doing our comprehensive budget revision 1. So in January, we've already started and we'll continue through March to create our fiscal year 26-27 budget. And coordinate with community partners on TIF district budget discussions. In April, City Council adopts the spring budget amendment, and the city and Prosper publish our fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. In May, Prosper Portland will do hopefully a final budget revision, make any spring adjustments, and our approved budget for fiscal year 26-27 will be published. And then in June, we'll adopt our 26-27 budget and obviously continue to monitor for adjustments through the end of our fiscal year, June 30th. Next slide, please.
So the next several slides, we're going to take a little deeper dive into three different areas that are related to this, this revision, partially related to the closeout of old TIF districts, but also related to the first-year TIF related to the new TIF districts, but also some operational needs, one-time operational needs. So one of the key technical parts of this amendment is TIF district transitions and the transferring of TIF district program income from older districts that are related to specific commitments where possible to new district funds. Those include transferring the Old Town Action Plan and Broadway Corridor and Union Station assets and related program income dollars for those commitments out of the old River District, Downtown Waterfront funds into the new West Side District Fund. This is primarily a fund management principle where we're going to once and for all close out the old funds for financial purposes, financial reporting purposes, and report these commitments out of the new fund. That also goes for the Innet Convention Center and 910 building, currently in the Oregon Convention Center Fund, moving into the Lloyd Holiday Fund. Several garages related to Station Place, the OCC garage, moving out of River District and Oregon Convention Center funds into the SIF fund. This includes about $30 million as identified in Exhibit A of the interfund transfers, and about $24 million of a related expenditure appropriation being added into the property redevelopment, housing, and economic development categories due to reappropriating dollars that didn't spend last year, mainly related to the Old Town Action Plan commitments. Next slide, please. So moving to first-year TIF performance, when we received the results for Multnomah County, there was a couple components of first-year results. One was the actual certified frozen base of each district, based on the boundaries, the geographic area of those areas, as well as the first-year increment or updated 25-26 values. So 5 of the 6 new districts had lower or no TIF resources than budgeted. That includes West Side, Central East Side Corridor, Lloyd Holiday, and the Space District. East 205 had lower TIF district. 82nd Avenue had higher TIF district rate, value, but it's kind of a one-year anomaly, which I'll speak to in a moment here. This is really a combination of higher or lower certified frozen base, and it's really driven by the lag of what's called centrally assessed value. It's value that's not assessed by Multnomah County, but rather the state of Oregon. And it takes about a year for the state of Oregon to report back on what utility property and other centrally assessed values factor into these new districts. So we don't have a 100% clear picture of what the final certified frozen base will be until probably the summer of 2026 when the county reincorporates those centrally assessed values into the frozen base. The other factor is declining real market value. As we know, in the Central City, there are declines in the Central City commercial and office property, and that is many cases coming down below what the frozen base was established at. Next slide, please. To illustrate this a little bit more, this graph illustrates how TIF works with the establishment of the frozen base and as increment grows over the life cycle of a TIF district. At year 0, when a district is established, that frozen base is the value that continues to accrue back to the overlapping taxing jurisdictions. That's established, and when we create the district plan, it's an estimate based on the value at a certain time. The county provides a certified value when they receive that plan that's adopted by City Council. And as we'll see in a moment here, there are differences between what we estimated and what we received back from the county for that frozen base, that starting point. And that's largely, some of the variances are largely due to that centrally assessed property having estimates and not having the benefit of the state final calculation built in yet. So then an incremental value shown in blue here grows over time. That's the 3% natural growth on existing properties plus any new development. And And in many cases, that's been lighter in some districts or declining in some places like the Central City due to the current trend of office and commercial. To illustrate the rest of this graph, there is the concept of revenue sharing. As TIF grows over time, some of the incremental value is shared back with the overlapping taxing jurisdictions later in the life of a district. And finally, when a district completes all the commitments, all the maximum indebtedness, the district closes, and all the value that's created over time goes back to the overlapping taxing jurisdictions, to the city, the county, and other districts. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates those two components which are driving our first-year results. On the left here is what we had as an estimated frozen base shown in blue compared to what the 24-25 certified base was shown in green. Excuse me. So you can see that there's some more significant variances here where the certified base was lower on 82nd Avenue TIF District and much higher on the Space District and other smaller variances in different districts. In consultation with the Multnomah County Tax Assessor who compiles these numbers, they feel that this is largely due to that factor of centrally assessed property, utility property, and how they estimated it for now and how it potentially will be corrected going forward. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, we won't have a clear picture of this corrected certified base until the summer of 2026, but I anticipate those green values to be adjusted either up or down once those centrally assessed values are brought in. What that means is that there'll be a new base for fiscal year 26-27 on which increment is measured against. And the second graph to the right shows that certified base, what the county certified compared to the 25-26 assessed value, what the new assessed value is. As shown, the certified base is the same on the prior graph, but the yellow shows total assessed value and where those declines have been, mainly in the Central City, Space, West Side, and Lloyd Holiday, where values have dropped below the frozen base and might take time to come back up. And so that's what we'll need to focus on over the next few months as we dig into this. We'll be reviewing much more detail as far as those comparisons go within each district. And then we'll also consult the county and look at utility and centrally assessed properties to see what maybe a revised estimate might yield. But we won't have results, solid results probably until the summer on this. Slide, please. I can pause there for any further questions. So for stabilizing the action planning efforts in these districts, there's active action planning efforts in each of the new districts. What we're looking at doing and what's embedded in Exhibit A and the transfers for Exhibit A of several districts is moving, making some technical adjustments to move program income from prior year savings from terminated districts or sunsetting districts to support the ongoing efforts in those newer districts for this fiscal year. And that amounts to about $1.4 million for the current fiscal year to continue those efforts this year. And in many cases, these are resources that were already programmed to support like efforts, but weren't spent last year. Next slide, please. And finally, on the one-time transfers that's included here, the one-time administrative carryover increases of $1.2 million that's being added into the administrative budget. These are for more specific project needs like prior year commitments that didn't spend last year. There is some increased City of Portland overhead that we're building into the budget based on their allocation model. And we're also pursuing improved business processes through a implementation of a customer relationship management project that's starting and underway right now and anticipate to move through this whole calendar year. This is being funded, proposed to be funded as a transfer of one-time savings, administrative savings from the SIF fund from the prior fiscal year. An alternative would be to increase our overhead rates that impact all different programs and funds, but this is a mechanism that we have in place since we have savings from last year. Next slide, please, and I'll hand it back over to Courtney.
Thanks, Tony. As Tony just mentioned, this is a quick summary of all of our appropriation changes. So as Tony just mentioned, administration increased about $1 million. A lot of that was due to increased city overhead charges, one-time increase, and then increased HR contracts and IT contracts, specifically our CRM project. Economic development decreased by about $4 million, mostly due to a Portland Clean Energy Fund project. The Clean Industry Project timeline is in flux. Housing increased, the housing appropriation category increased by about $11 million to align with our intergovernmental agreement with the Portland Housing Bureau. A lot of that was due to carryover for North Macadam and Interstate. We also had the removal of the new TIF district funding as we didn't receive TIF resources for several of the new districts. Infrastructure increased by about $5 million. A lot of that is due to carryover of state grants for Broadway corridor transportation improvements, as well as Gateway Street improvement carryover. Property redevelopment increased by $68 million to mainly carry over loans in West Side, TIF District, Lentz, Gateway, the Portland Clean Energy Fund, and an increase in a potential property acquisition. Next slide, please. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Great presentation. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
None for me.
Just one quick question on my part. So Tony, in talking about the frozen base or declining base, if you will, given the change in assessed values and kind of decline in assessed values, I know it's very difficult to predict this. There's a lot of real estate folks out there thinking about this every day. But what is our best estimate as far as when things might kind of come back on track with what was originally projected? What are you guys thinking about? Thinking we're maybe a year or two behind, maybe 3 years behind? What's your best guess?
I think I'm in consultation with the county assessor. I know that they're still working through a number of appeals for commercial office type property, mainly in the central city. So I don't think this has been fully resolved yet as far as how real market values and how those real market values adjust taxable assessed value is being finalized yet. So I think we'll have a much better read in the summer as they continue to make progress working through that appeals process or other reassessments to kind of see what the trajectory is to move out of that. But then also the overall economic climate, which might drive the numbers in a different direction. I think we'll have a much better read on where that's going over the next few months. As far as what it takes to get from where it's at now, we'll have a better idea on a property-by-property basis of where some of those variances are, I think, in the next month. And so then it'll be a matter of projecting for those individual properties how long it might take for those properties to grow over the back where they were a year ago or 2 years ago. And then the second factor is just really getting that centrally assessed property, what needs to be corrected in the frozen base, figured out. And unfortunately, we do have to wait for the state to kind of finalize that and get those numbers reincorporated into the county. I think that is a bigger question for some districts rather than others, more like Space as well as 82nd Avenue, I think are the big ones where there's larger questions around centrally assessed value. It might be less of an issue in projecting West Side and other central city districts. So I hope to come back to you in the next few months as we do a budget update with a better understanding of what that is, where we are today, what the impact of the centrally assessed property is, and then if we can make further adjustments on the timeline as we build the 26-27 budget and forecast. But unfortunately, I don't have a really strong projection right now. Yeah.
No problem. It was it was kind of a flyer, but it's obvious we're behind. Just wondered how far. So, okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? No? Okay, all right then. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve resolution number 7631, adopting budget amendment number 1?
Motion to approve?
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Okay, before we adjourn, we'd like to just say a few more words about our friend Pam Feigenbutz. This is her last board meeting. She has been a very, very important part of our board meetings and our communications amongst board members and among the, within the operation of Prosper as a whole. And so I just want to again commend her and express appreciation for Pam being with us all these years and doing such a great job. And you're leaving with a lot of love and appreciation from all of Prosper Portland. So just want to thank you again and congratulate you on your retirement and wish you well and say that we're going to miss you. So.
Would love to add to that. Pam, you will be missed. Congratulations on your retirement. I feel like every organization has a person that perhaps holds a just incredible amount of institutional knowledge and perhaps all the secrets too. And I feel that you have always conveyed that confidence of being that person with either words or I think even more importantly, sometimes you don't say anything and you convey the fact that you know everything that's going on and are holding it all together. So I've always appreciated all the help and assistance and kind of getting grounded in context and keeping us in line with all those things. So thank you so much for all your effort.
I will say ditto to all of that and just add, you are greatly going to be missed. We appreciate all that you've done for us and onboarding us, getting us going, just really bossing us around, Pam. But I appreciate the bossiness though. And please stay in touch.
Yes, let us know how your trips go. Yeah. You like to say anything?
Yes, just that we are forever grateful that Pam chose Prosper Portland as her last stop in a long career of public service. We were able to celebrate her a couple of weeks ago with her family and friends, and again this morning in our all staff. And so hats off to you once again, and Godspeed, Pam.
Okay, all right. Well, with those tears in our eyes, we'll just say there being no further items on the agenda, this Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
All right, we're off.